Donovan, where's my breakfast?
Donovan, where's my breakfast?
Y'all like Bryce Tank Thrust? How do you feel about Brandon Rogers? I think he's a legend. I think that dude's a fucking legend. I think all his characters are, bitch, I love Brandon Rogers. Brandon Rogers, have a good day. Hi, friends. So I'm gonna do something, which I do a lot, which is go through a scary health struggle, freak out, learn from it, and think, why wasn't I taught about this in school? They're teaching us about X equals fucking Y and want us to memorize our times tables, but they can't even teach us about our own bodies. Like, they won't even give us effective sex ed, just like wear condoms and you gotta pick one day between tampons and pads, I guess. Okay, so we see all over social media, like, ladies, check your boobs for lumps, right? Always check, okay? Well and good. Here's what to look out for. It can be as small as a grape, da-da-da-da-da. It can be any size, here's what to look for. What no one told me was that something called Fibrocystic Cysts or something are also the size of a lemon seed. So when I turned like the sweet age of adulthood, something really fun started happening to me, where when I would be in the shower, I would lather my up and they would be like, you know, like when you're like I'm a check. So you check and there's something there even though you're like the ripe age of 20. So on the side I would feel a lemon seed basically. The first time that this ever happened to me, I had a panic attack, naturally, because your entire life you're told to check, and if something happens, panic. I had it in my mind, I'm like, it's probably nothing, like, and it was nothing. I was like, don't freak out, it's probably fine. It was fine. Like, my mind immediately started racing, like, you know this is bad. Like, this is the end, count your days. Did I mention that I have anxiety? But then with some bittersweet Googling, with the help of a few friends who also have periods and breasts, they informed me that this happens all the time and they go through the same thing. It scares them as well. So I'm thinking, holy shit, like, why didn't they warn us about this scare? Save us the panic. Tell us about our bodies in school. It's not that fucking hard. Why is the only thing that they teach us about is sex? Like, why don't they tell us about what's going on in our bodies? Like, our own bodies, not the bodies that we're gonna like use for. Anyways, here's what I think is important to know. Ladies, gents, anyone in between, you hit a second puberty. Around the time of adulthood, you hit a second puberty that nobody talks about. Like, there are so many things that very quietly change when you become an adult. I struggled with depression my entire life, and like ever since I turned 18, I had like a really bad depressive episode, like probably one of the worst in my life. I was unsure of what it was. I felt like I was losing my mind. I had no idea what the hell was happening, and I was just like, I've had depression. I know what depression is. I know the ups and downs of depression. I know what the f it is. Why is this suddenly different, and why do I feel like I'm losing my mind? Why do I feel like I'm losing my marbles because of this new crazy, like, super depression? Turns out I have Pmdd. The subject of periods, after going over everything that happened that year with a licensed professional, it turns out that I have premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, which is basically PMS except like 10 times worse in all accounts, but especially in your noggin. You nearly want death because of your hormones to a point. Like, if you are like, if it spirals enough, like a lot of people have committed suicide because of it, because they don't teach us about this shit in school. Like, one of the symptoms are specifically hopelessness, which is why it's so important to catch it, so that in the future, when PMDD comes around, you can remind yourself that this is what this is. I'm not losing my mind, I'm not going crazy. It's gonna be hard to deal with, but at least you know what it is, and at least you know that there's an out, and that, like, you know that you're gonna feel better eventually. This feeling of hopelessness is so intense that it can blur your idea of a future. One of the symptoms of depression, a lot of the times, like when I'm feeling depressed, it's like really depressed, I cannot envision myself like living a healthy life. Like, I just think like, this is how it's gonna be. Like, I'm just gonna be depressed. I'm gonna be this depressed, miserable bitch. So PMDD, like, the hopelessness can make it feel like this like icky blur of like this depressive mess. Like, you need to tell yourself that it will pass, or your mind starts to believe that it won't pass. Then you'll end up like me, uneducated on the matter and sobbing because I had no idea what happened to me after having such a grasp on my diagnosis for the longest time. You are not alone. If you struggle with PMDD, I hear you, I feel for you. Like, tell yourself that you are doing incredibly, because it is rough. It is rough. It is so rough. Like, as if having like depression is shit enough, imagine like having a scheduled increase of that depression and hormones and all of the bodily sensations that you get when you're about to have your period for like 2 weeks. It's usually like a week or two, usually two, before your period. And then you have to deal with the actual period. It sucks. It's tough. Like, look it up online. Read testimonies from patients and victims who have it. It is a nightmare, I'm telling you, especially if you already deal with mental health struggles. On a lighter note, I finally started using this perfume that I bought back in fall. I've been saving it for warmer weather this year, and I finally started using it. It smells really good. From Bath & Body Works, it's called You're the One. In my opinion, it smells a lot like strawberry soda, and it suits it because the bottle is red and sparkly. So it looks like what happens when you pour strawberry soda out into a cup. That's it for now. I love you. I hope you're doing great. I hope that you find $50 on the ground, and if you don't, I hope you have a great week anyway. Bye bye.